The moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
All right. Hey, everybody, this is Perch, and I'm here with Joe. Joe, you're doing great. I'm hot.
Thank you.
It's too hot here.
Yeah, it's like
I'm not
20
hot.
degrees cooler here in
Yeah.
New York. At least, maybe 30. It's like
At least it's 108 right now. So yeah, that's not just terrible.
It is 81. Oh, what trip? It dropped down to 79. So
Right,
yeah,
you're enough. Yeah, that's great.
yeah. Light breeze too, which helps.
When there's a breeze here with this temperature, it's like you're standing inside of one of those hand dryers.
Oh no,
that's what it feels
But is
like.
So are you standing inside because they have the different hand dryers, like the ones that you have to like go on top and like put your hands down in them?
Well, they built those because it blows the air back up into your face, and so it spreads around COVID really well.
Yeah, no, it's really been helpful with that. And then like there's just like water just kind of pools at the bottom a little bit. Like it's not pleasant.
It's great. Yeah. Well, hey, we talked a little bit about one announcement at San Diego Comic-Con, but I was curious. First of all, it's kind of a wrap up. What have you heard? What was the vibe you got? And then I've got a bunch of other news announcements. I'm just going to test a bunch with you and see what it is you like, don't like. What do you think? Because this San Diego Comic-Con was a little bit different, and we didn't get the big Hollywood participation that we normally do.
No, yeah, there was none of that, which meant that okay. So I think you've also heard this, but I heard not from everyone, but I heard a number of people saying, like, Comic-Con's back. This is great. There were actually people on the show floor. Booths were making money because people weren't, spending, like $500 to get their picture with the guy who played a X-Wing pilot in one of the Star Wars movies or something.
Mm-hmm.
So you had that. I heard a lot of that. But I also heard things like, and this is from a small but vocal group, and maybe you could help get some clarity on this for me. I keep hearing that it was a super spreader event and everyone got COVID and we need to rethink conventions moving forward.
Yeah. So what's curious to me, and I think I did a video on this, but I'm curious to get your take as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's been fascinating to watch how COVID has evolved, and this is a kind of a brief sideways conversation, but it plays into this.
Mm-hmm.
And this is definitely going to get YouTube to be all pissed off the video. But do you remember pre-COVID? So the glory years of 2018, 2019. And
you just cough in people's mouths. It was great.
Sure, right? Well, that's exactly it. You could go into work and you would have a cold or the flu, and you would tell people you have the cold and the flu, and you would be snotting and sneezing all over everything. And people would generally be like, man, you should go home. But you do have work to do. So, I don't know, get your work done, then go home. And you just dose up on a bunch of Theraflu and you'd be fine.
Yeah.
That was how it was. And now, then we had COVID where, do you have a cough, stay home for 5 days. And now it's 2023, and how far back have we swung back to the pre-COVID time?
Yeah, I'm not sure, because one of the interesting things here, for me, is that it sounds like a number of people got COVID, but I don't know how bad the strain is. It seems like almost everyone, and I don't know. I have not read every single instance and know every single person that got it. This is purely anecdotally.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
From what I've seen, it was a lot of people who said, "Oh, geez, I got COVID." They were annoyed that they have to isolate for a bit, and it was very mild symptoms.
Yeah.
I don't think, because there have been different strains with different severity. But this seems like a weaker strain. But I don't know. Like,
Who knows,
I
man?
didn't get it, so I don't know.
Yeah, well,
But
I didn't. It also seemed like the people who got it were all at the same orgy.
or same orgies.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I like that pause there. Um, this show rapidly goes through all the people he knows that might be listening to this on the show. Anyway,
Yeah.
no, there are a lot of people did get COVID apparently, but I'm with you. I've the people I know seem to. I put it this way: it didn't stop their use of Twitter.
Yeah,
They were
that's fair.
okay. They
Or
were
X.
on screen. Yeah. But other than that, I heard that some people were expecting some deals would get signed there, and then it turns out not a lot of editors showed up, or maybe none. Meanwhile, I've also heard people had a great con because of what you just said. The movie people weren't there, so Artist Alley did a really good business, and it was more focused back on comics. But kind of a mixed bag is basically what I've heard.
Yeah, no, for sure. And some of that I don't. It's very difficult to look forward and see like, oh, this is definitely going to be the case next year. Because if you're talking about, without the Hollywood folks there, like, it did really well. So like, well, next year, despite what some people, might be talking about or hoping or this and that, there's probably not going to be a strike when we come to July of 2024.
Yeah, probably not.
So probably not. So Hollywood, they're going to be back, and it's going to be like it was before. So you're going to have that on top of, even if they didn't, even let's say for some reason they were like, oh my God, we hate money and attendance so much, we're just going to stick to comics. The people who, like, it could have been a fluke. You had a lot of people who were already attending who weren't going to cancel last minute, because it was really only within the last couple of weeks or so. And these people got, if you got flight arrangements and hotels and stuff, it's a lot of money to get out there. You're going to go. You're going to check it out. Like, at that point, it costs you more money to cancel and
for sure
all that. So, I think there were people who made the best of it. I think there were people who had a better time than they thought they would. Like, oh wow, this is a lot of fun and this is cool. I'm going to get art and check out these other things and get other knickknacks and things. They're not gonna. A lot of them might not do that the next year. Like, it was like a fun off year thing to do. That doesn't mean they want to do it every year.
Yeah, agreed. I think. Well, it feels like there's a lot of money to be made in cons, and so it's a con that there's so much money to be made. But anyway, so here's some of the news announcements that have come out. Oh, actually, one more thing. One of the things that Marvel and Disney said that was going to be a really big deal was the live action Hellfire Gala. I've heard nothing about how that went. Did I miss news? Or, I mean, I've been traveling out of the country, but was there any news or photos or anything? Did anybody post anything on social media? I heard nothing. Did it even happen? I
don't know. I honestly forgot about it. We're now both like click. Let's
I know. I'm like, hey, I'm actually going to look. There was, it's still listed on the D23 site, but I just can't see anything about it.
Yeah.
And there's, I guess, okay, I found a gallery, but it looks super tiny and shitty.
There are, it doesn't look like there's some pictures people posted, but I don't know why multiple pictures are of the empty room beforehand. Yes. There are pictures of people there. There's probably it looks like mostly not in costumes, but a few people in the background there and in costumes. Looks like, I don't know, maybe 80 people, 100 people.
That just did anyway. seems kind of lame. And I have noticed a lot of people are just cosplaying X-Men costumes.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. Well, let me give you some news, and you tell me what you think of some of this stuff. So there was a bunch of things that happened. We talked previously about DC announcing their new event, Beast World. So you've got that going on, and then you have a brand new Punisher as well that they announced.
Yeah.
So we got a brand new Frank Castle's off doing this. We got a brand new Punisher. This Punisher is Joe Garrison. And this is a new title being written from David Pepos, who did Savage Avengers. He's a retired SHIELD Black Ops agent. His past rears its violent head. And it is art by David Watcher, who's doing Planet of the Apes right now. What do you think about that? What do you think about that title?
I think it's going to be interesting. I'm a bit biased. I know David. I've enjoyed other work he's done quite a bit. I really enjoyed Savage Avengers, and those 2 issues of Fantastic Four he did were solid.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, I think this is like. It's interesting insofar as if this Punisher gets to do more Punisher-y things, on the one hand, great. On the other hand, why do we do that all with Frank Castle then?
Well, the thing that kind of confuses me is they did this this series, which I think they extended, that Jason Aaron just finished, where they wrote Frank Castle out, Punisher No More, and that just ended like a month ago.
Yeah, very recently.
And so they're jumping right back in with another series immediately. And you've got the skull there, a slightly modified skull, but you have the classic Punisher skull. Wasn't the entire kind of the news that I had heard was that they really needed to change that skull because a bunch of angry white supremacists were using that symbol, and it was just a problem. They had to distance themselves from that skull, and so they do a 12-issue series where they change Frank around. They give him the hand skull. They then retire him at the end. They send him to a different reality at the end. And then they immediately announce a new Punisher using the skull. I'm confused by that strategy.
Well, they also announced that they are putting back into print Punisher Max by Garth Ennis. Well,
he's very popular because of The Boys.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to have Garth Ennis on a project somewhere in your company if you want to be alive. But
yeah, right. Let's hope so.
Okay. So there's a brand new X-Men team. We are told that coming in 2024, there will be a new team of mutants. But there again, does that have a lot of impact?
Is there more, or is it just that there's a new team?
There will be a new team. No, we'll find out in November, they say.
All right.
For all the talk of it was a comic-centered show, as I look down the news, everything. So we're getting a Boys spinoff, Gen B. That's an Amazon show. We're getting an anime from the Cowboy Bebop John Wick team. Dragon Prince Season 5 gets an early release. Star Trek Discovery has a final season coming. Invincible Season 2 got a release date and a special one-off. All the news, despite the fact that it was a comic-centered show, is all shows about comics and not comics.
Sounds like comics are back, baby.
Fair enough. I mean, one of the biggest, if you search into big San Diego Comic-Con announcements, the one that seems to get one of the biggest hits is that Homelander and Peacemaker and Omni-Man will be in Mortal Kombat, the video game.
Famously not a comic book.
Yes, yeah, that's true. The other big news that you get when you look at the site is that Harley Quinn Season 4 is coming out. I know you're a fan of the show.
Yeah, some of the episodes are out already. I think I watched the
Oh, that's
first
right.
two. Yeah.
And she is Ivy is leading the Legion of Doom, and she's trying to be a good guy.
Yes.
Okay, but again, that's not strictly comics.
No.
Oh, Marvel's Venom is going to get a pinball machine.
Huh.
That is news. Yeah, I'm struck by. I mean, again, this is kind of a bit, but as I looked at the news headlines coming out, you have to look far and few between to get news about comics, even though all the news, as we talked about, was that this was a comic centered event for a change.
Yeah. Well, friend of the show, Joe Casey, got to be there to announce a Kneel Before Zod series, right?
That's right. I hear they had some pins for him to sign.
I hear that too. And
Yeah.
what was it? I'm blanking on the artist, but was also solid choice, I thought.
Yeah, no, I think that is that's pretty. So this is a good thing to end on. We did get the announcement of the Joe Casey series. Another friend of the show, Sean Murphy, is announcing his Kickstarter for Zorro is kicking off this year. So we're also getting that coming up. But those are some
Yes.
legitimately good comic news announcements. Do you think
Yeah.
this? I'll end with this question. It's a good one for the audience as well, but wanted to get your take on it. Do you think that comic news being announced at a con is even a good way to do it anymore, or have we moved past this? Is this an example of just kind of a legacy way that news announcements worked, and we all should just move past it?
Yeah, I feel like it's a legacy way, like, but really, it was only in the fairly recent history within the past, like, what, maybe 15 or so years that, like, maybe more like, 2025 that, you use like, cons to really make like big announcements or shakeups and things like that. And like, you had to be at the show, at the panel, or else you had to rely on like shaky internet reporting. And then you got the news sites and the forums, and they got better at that to the point where people were able to talk about things like day
Mm-hmm.
of the big announcements. But the the culture around the news sites and all that's really died out.
It has. Yeah.
I mean, there's some big news happening right now that's getting zero coverage.
What's that?
Who can say?
Oh,
But
damn it, Joe! You big tease.
no, but there's so many things out there that it gets coverage, doesn't get coverage, or and so much of it is just press releases from the different publishers that are just like regurgitated out by different sites, and then they run the press release as an exclusive or something, and then
That's
there's a
it.
lot of things like people do interviews and they do panels and this and that, and I feel like a lot of that's been diminished through social media because like who cares about seeing someone on a panel? I can just tweet at them
Yeah, that's
and
kind of
they tell
sad.
me. Yeah.
I don't know that I'm disappointed by that change. I mean, I don't know. One of the things I liked about cons once upon a time was that you could, in the panels, generally one of the things that would go on is that, they would tease out storylines, but it was not like news like we have it here. It was news like, you could show up and on the X-Men panel, you would hear about what kind of the X-Men writers were going to kind of do and think about for the lineup. It wasn't so much a news; it was just kind of an insight into their creative process, and that used to be pretty cool. But that really isn't what panels are used for anymore. It feels like.
Yeah, it's no, I mean there, and it's tough again, like because of the change in the cons. It's like
Sure.
this is something that people talked about with like San Diego. Like one of the nicer things is you'd get these smaller panels that actually uh, had people in attendance,
Mm-hmm.
whereas you didn't have people who were parked in Hall H all day having to camp out for a panel, and who were like, well, I got to see the cast of this show or whatever talk and the panels later in the day, but I can't go. I got to make sure I make that panel.
Yeah.
So, because I mean, I don't know how many people listen who go to panels or at cons or like frequent some of the bigger shows, but I mean, you'll go to, New York, San Diego, Emerald City, C2E, like some of these bigger shows. And there's so much programming, there are so many panels that sometimes you end up having a better shot at talking to a creator at the panel than waiting for the signing.
True. Yeah.
What's
your, well, anyway, we should wrap up, but I wanted to ask you, what's the next con you're headed to?
I will be at I'll be at Baltimore. I will be at the next one, FlameCon in New York. I'll be there Sunday, having hosting a panel remembering Rachel Pollack, and Martha Thomas's Stuart Moore and Fyodor Pavlov will all be on the panel.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, so that's going to be on a week from when we're recording. So this will drop sometime during the week, probably.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, whatever. So it's August 13th is the day it drops, or the panel is. If you're in New York, check it out, FlameCon. Check that out. But yeah, other than that, I will be at the Mad Cave booth at 2:00 on the Saturday of Baltimore. So that's I want to say September 9th. I'll be signing there, and then I'll be at New York Comic Con the whole, probably all 4 days. I don't know if all the time for the day at the show. And I'm still debating Rose City. I might fly out for that. I'm thinking about it.
A lot of people are debating that show.
Yeah, there's some friends of the show that are going to be there.
Yeah.
Also, bitter enemies of the show.
There are some bitter enemies of the show. I don't know if I have some bitter enemies. I have a couple. That's okay. Fuck them. All right, Joe. Well, I hope people come out and see it, and definitely, go remember Rachel Pollack, who there's still that amazing interview that we got from her on this show, which is still one of my favorite things that we did together. So
yes, definitely.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and for everybody out there listening, thanks for listening, and Joe, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.